What is good, everyone? What is good? Welcome back to another video. Today, we're jumping back into the Go Battle League arena, this time once again returning to the Great League Remix to feature a team with Scrafty as the closer. It's been a hot minute since I've used Scrafty, and Scrafty in the Great League, no less. But taking a look over at PvPoken, you'll see that Scrafty is rated extremely highly in this limited meta. Because it is able to claim victories over highly meta Pokemon such as Alolan Sandslash, Drapion, Mandibuzz, Jellicent, Vigoroth, which are all Pokemon that you're going to be seeing extremely frequently if you haven't already been seeing them in the Remix Cup. Now, we actually have two different teams that we're featuring today, and the only Pokemon that we're going to be substituting out is going to be Shadow Quagsire in place of Tentacruel. Now, the initial idea running Tentacruel in the back with Shadow Golbat is to apply debuffs to everything, right? We're running Acid Spray on Tentacruel, we're running Poison Fang on Shadow Golbat, debuff everything, allow Scrafty to boost its attack stat with Power Up Punch and just sweep everything endgame. That was the idea. It didn't really manifest like that. We do have a few battles that you'll be able to see, but we ended up substituting Tentacruel out for Shadow Quagsire, which does give us a little bit more punch, right? So Shadow Quagsire is able to hit a lot of meta Pokemon for either neutral or super effective damage. And then we also have Shadow Golbat, which I still believe to be the strongest Pokemon in this meta, and you'll see some further evidence of that in these battles. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop straight into the first one. Getting into the first battle, we have team number one, Scrafty on the lead, Shadow Golbat on the safe swap, and Tentacruel in the back. We have a horrible lead, Pidgeot on the lead against our Scrafty. And like this, we're going to be immediately pivoting out into our Shadow Golbat. And we see the strategy that a lot of trainers are employing now, the Brave Bird and Dip. We're cognizant of this strategy as we will be shielding up that Brave Bird and applying a debuff to the opponent's Credilli. Will Credilli be able to KO our Golbat with a Rock Slide? Yes, they will, but Shadow Golbat has done its job. It's applied a debuff, and it's allowing Scrafty to be able to come back in and farm the opponent's Credilli all the way down, but no, we're not able to, as we will be firing off the Power Up Punch on CMP tie. I opted to throw the Power Up Punch, expend some energy as opposed to give up a second shield, knowing that the opponent's Pidgeot would be coming back in, but our attack stat is now boosted by 1, meaning these neutral Power Up Punches are going to start doing heavy neutral damage. Opponent has reached the next charge move. We're going to call a bait, and it's just going to be the Feather Dance Shield Bait. Our attack was at +2. It's now back to neutral, meaning this Power Punch is still going to do heavy damage. Opponent swaps out into their final Pokemon, and it will be the Shadow Machamp in the back. This is perfect for us, as Tentacruel will be resisting all of these counters from the opponent's Machamp. We can safely shield this charge move, whatever it is, from the opponent, as they have built up a massive amount of energy. It's going to be the Rock Slide, but Machamp not able to survive further Poison Jabs as Tentacruel calls game. Well played by the opponent as they choose to not delay the inevitable. Thank you for the match. As we hop into the next battle, we have an insane lead. Shadow Apex Lugia on the lead against our Scrafty. We're going to build up to the foul play, and we will be firing off the foul play as soon as we get it, as the Lugia will expend 1 shield to block that super effective damage. We're going to immediately pivot out into our Shadow Golbat. Remember, the opponent did not fire their energy with their Apex Lugia, meaning they still have a Sky Attack stored. Meanwhile, opponent brings in their double, and we're going to build up energy, fire off a second Poison Fang on CMP tie. This will be threatening the health of the opponent, but no, they're able to survive. Will we choose to expend 1 shield? Yes, we will. We're going for the shield and farm down, and we're able to successfully wing attack down the opponent's double debuff double. As the opponent brings back in their Shadow Lugia, we're unable to get to the next Poison Fang, as Sky Attack will be KOing the Shadow Golbat just before we're able to get to the next Poison Fang. Lugia building up to another Sky Attack, and they are able to outpace the Scrafty. Scrafty having to expend its final shield here to preserve its health and energy. Will this foul play be enough to KO the opponent? Will it grab their final shield? No. Shadow Apex Lugia able to hold on, tanks that foul play, takes their energy with them as the opponent will be pivoting out into their final Pokemon, and it is the Scrafty. We're not going to mess around with any baits here on the Tentacruel. Full sending the Scald, but Scald goes shielded by the opponent. That's terrible for us as they are now at the next charge move. This foul play will be getting our Tentacruel extremely low. Will we get farmed down? No, the opponent one counter short of the farm down. That is highly unfortunate for them as Scald not able to take us out, but Scrafty survives one counter from the opponent, gets to the next foul play, and this will easily be enough to KO the opponent's Apex Lugia as bang, Scrafty calls game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match. I played it safe there going for the foul play instead of going for the power punch, but in hindsight, power punch may have been enough as the opponent was on a sliver, one single pixel of HP. But hopping into the next one, we have Scrafty on the lead against the opponent's Surfetched, and this is horrible for us. We pivot out immediately into our Shadow Golbat, and we're also hard countered on the safe swap with the opponent's Dugong, but the opponent has built up too much energy. Will they respect the potential Shadow Ball? No, they do not. And here I make a massive misplay. I should be shielding this Icy Wind to go for the wing attack down to successfully flip switch, but I'm not able to do so. What a terrible misplay by me as the opponent not going to waste any time waiting out the switch clock. They're bringing back in their Surfetched, putting massive pressure on our shields here. We're forced to expend one shield, block the opponent's Leaf Blade, and go for our own Power Up Punch. But opponent does not respect the Power Punch. We're going for the farm down, and Scrafty able to just nearly get the farm down, but the opponent swaps into their Shadow Golbat just before the damage from the final counter registers. We do grab the opponent's first shield with a foul play before pivoting out into our Tentacruel. Tentacruel expending the final shield to block the opponent's Shadow Ball. We're going for the bait here. We're at the Scald. We're going for the bait on the Acid Spray, and opponent calls the bait. What an absolute psychopath. The madman calls the bait, and that may just be the game-sealing call for the opponent as we go for the double bait here. We need to grab the opponent's shield here, and finally we are able to do so. How meaningful will it be? The opponent gives us a lifeline, as they could have gone for the wing attack down, but instead they're going to expend their energy, throw off the Poison Fang, but Scrafty has no chance as it is dealing double resisted counters as the opponent's Golbat calls game. Well played by them. Thank you for the match. Hopping into the next battle, we have the Dream lead with our new team. Shadow Golbat on the lead against the opponent's Chestnut. Opponent pivots into their Toxapex. Toxapex is typically a great safe swap, but in this remix meta, it will not be appreciating the Mud Boys that are so prevalent, those being Whiscash and Shadow Quagsire primarily. Our Quagsire is going to town on the opponent's Toxapex as we're firing off a second Mud Bomb on CMP tie, preventing the opponent from dealing any damage or any meaningful damage onto our Quagsire. We're fully healthy here. We can fire off this resisted Stone Edge, but how much damage is it going to do? It is from a Shadow Quagsire. It's not too much damage as the opponent does Vine Whip us down with their Chestnut, and they're almost definitely going to instantly be pivoting out, and they do instantly pivot out into their Dugong in the back. Dugong not going to be appreciating the counters from Scrafty and will be appreciating them even less now that our attack is boosted by one stage, and the opponent realizes the inevitable, chooses to not delay it, and calls game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match. Hopping into the next battle, we have a tough lead. Shadow Quagsire aligned against our Shadow Golbat. We're going for the Stone Edge catch. We swap on the appropriate time. Do we catch the Stone Edge? No, the opponent just throwing the Mud Bomb into our Shadow Golbat. And that is highly unfortunate for us as Mud Bomb will be dealing neutral damage onto our Quagsire. We're extremely low and can't build up to the Stone Edge as the opponent goes for the snipe with their Golbat. They're able to almost successfully do so as they do take minimal damage from our Mud Bomb onto their Shadow Golbat. Our Shadow Golbat throwing this Shadow Ball, and bang, we one-shot the opponent's Shadow Golbat. We win the mirror match, but we're still in a world of trouble here as the opponent reveals their final Pokemon, and it will be the Mandibuzz. Now, Scrafty is able to win the Mandibuzz matchup when Mandibuzz is running Snarl. When it's running Air Slash, that is a completely different story. We definitely cannot be bringing our Scrafty into this matchup, especially at a significant energy disadvantage, as the opponent's Mandibuzz has now built up a massive amount of energy. They're going to pivot back out into their Quagsire. We're going for the debuffing Poison Fang onto the Quagsire before pivoting out into our Scrafty. Scrafty going to have to counter all the way down here, but the opponent has reached another charge move. This is going to be the Mud Bomb. Can we get the counter down before the opponent reaches a second Mud Bomb? Yes, we are able to, as we will be firing off this power-up punch instantly. We need to boost our attack as soon as possible, as the opponent will be firing off their energy here, and it's going to be the super effective Aerial Ace. Now, Aerial Ace is a horrible move, but in this situation, it will definitely be more than enough to KO our fighter. As we get one power-up punch, we're able to land it. We throw on not the best timing, but it's integral for us to throw off this next power-up punch as soon as possible. We swap out into our Shadow Golbat, not wanting to get farmed down, and I realize this may have been the lose condition here, as two Air Slashes are able to KO our Scrafty as the opponent calls game. Thank you for the match, well played by them. Hopping into the next battle, we have a familiar lead. Chestnut on the lead against our Shadow Golbat. Opponent going to safe swap into their Drapion. Again, typically, especially at the Ultra League level, Drapion is a fantastic safe swap, but in this limited meta, it may not be the best, as they are able to outpace us. They fired off a Crunch, and they are going to reach this Aqua Tail before we're able to fire off a Mud Bomb. This is terrible for us, as the opponent can definitely flip switch here by double shielding their Drapion, which isn't what they are going to do. We fire this next Mud Bomb just before the opponent reaches their second Aqua Tail, and they will be double shielding their Drapion. They're making a huge play for switch here. We need to maintain alignment, and we are able to win switch here, as Mud Bomb is going to easily be able to KO the opponent's Shadow Drapion. Switch was everything in this match, as the opponent will be bringing back in their Chestnut. They get the Vine Whip down, but Chestnut has nothing for our Shadow Golbat. The opponent brings in their shiny Steelix, and their Steelix is greeted by our Scrafty, and that's a GG. Opponent chooses to not delay the inevitable as Scrafty calls game. Well played by them. Thank you for the match. Hopping into the next battle, we have Double on the lead against our Shadow Golbat. Opponent going to swap out immediately into a Drifblim. Drifblim going to be able to debuff our Shadow Golbat with debuffing Icy Winds here. We're going to go for the Shadow Ball here. It will be more than enough to KO the opponent, but we're able to grab a shield, as even though we are debuffed, opponent is still respecting the massive damage output potential from Shadow Golbat. And that just shows you how insane Shadow Golbat is in this limited meta, as we bring in our Quagsire. Quagsire tanks that Shadow Ball, but we are getting low, and opponent double shields their Drifblim here. So Drifblim, a very valuable Pokemon to this trainer apparently, as they will be pivoting back into their Double. Double going to eat this Mud Bomb, and they have built up 2 double kicks worth of energy, I believe. So we need to be mindful of that, as we do have 1 shield remaining. This is just going to be the Body Slam. Scrafty going to have to counter all the way down here and have the foul play ready for the opponent's Drifblim as it comes back in. We're going to expend our final shield here. We need the health and energy on Scrafty, as the opponent's Double finally does get countered down. The GOAT is just too bulky. Opponent brings in another Ghost, so the opponent running ABA Ghost, and it will be the Cofagrigus coming off the bench. Cofagrigus sit back down, as double foul play is enough to easily KO the opponent's Ghost, but the opponent has effectively forced us to expend all of our energy. We should have been farming up a bit more there, as Shadow Golbat has to survive one Icy Wind and is able to survive. This debuffed Shadow Ball from the Shadow Golbat will easily be enough to KO the opponent's Drifblim, as Shadow Golbat calls game. Well played by the opponent with the ABA Ghost. Thank you for the match. We have a horrible lead here, Alolan Sandslash on the lead against our Shadow Golbat. We're going to immediately pivot out into our Quagsire, and we're greeted by the opponent's Sirfetch'd. Sirfetch'd dealing neutral damage with these counters, but will be able to destroy our Shadow Quag with a single Leaf Blade, and we're okay with letting Quagsire go down here. Quagsire has successfully gained a shield from the opponent, and we can now bring in our Shadow Golbat and look for the farm down with our wing attacks, but we're going to expend one shield here as the opponent gets the boost, not able to utilize the double attack stat buff, as they do get fully wing attacked down, and we will be greeting this Sandslash with a Shadow Ball as it comes back in. Will they respect the damage? No, they do not, as we are able to now debuff the opponent with this Poison Fang, and we're gonna look for the snipe here. Do we get the snipe? No, we don't get the catch, but we do effectively snipe down the opponent with two counters, as they were not quick enough to react, and now it's Scrafty in the back against the opponent's Machamp. Machamp not going to waste any time taking any more damage from our boosted counters, but that may have been a critical mistake for them, as the opponent, realizing the inevitable, choosing to not delay it as they call game. Well played by the opponent, and well played by all of my opponents today. Thank you for all of the matches, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to show how brightly Scrafty can shine in the Great League Remix. Scrafty is just such a busted Pokemon, especially given the charge move of Power Up Punch, and I think it also speaks to how absolutely busted the charge move or the fast move of Counter is. The damage that it outputs, coupled with the energy that it's able to generate, is just absolutely broken, as Scrafty is able to absolutely abuse that given its buffing move of Power Up Punch. We were also able to augment Scrafty's effectiveness by applying debuffs with Shadow Golbat on the Poison Fang. And I think that what I learned most after these battles is how strong of a core Shadow Golbat and Scrafty make. It's awesome to see how Scrafty is able to draw out fighters, so Sirfetch'd and Machamp were two of the more common fighters that were drawn out, and Shadow Golbat absolutely obliterates those Pokemon, able to farm down, and Shadow Golbat with energy is absolutely deadly, as we saw in the battles today. So hopefully I was successful in showcasing Scrafty. It's a little bit difficult with Shadow Golbat on the team because it is just such a monster, especially in this limited meta. But regardless of everything else, I definitely had a fantastic time running these battles, and hopefully you enjoyed viewing them as well. But that's going to be all from me. Thank you so much for stopping by. Remember to enjoy the small things. Peace.